Benji. Welcome. Okay. Wonderful. Alrighty. Welcome, folks, to Tanya Today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zich in Kadesh, Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. We welcome Terrence, TJ, all the way in Melbourne, Australia, where it's very late. And Michael, good afternoon in Germany. Andrea is with us in Phoenix, Boker Tov. John in North Carolina has joined us. Tim in Texas, Boker Tov. Julia is in Pennsylvania, while Joseph is joining us in New Jersey. Virginia and Calgary, fellow Canadian. In West Virginia, Lisa's here with us. And Lisa is... forget. You have to remind me. In Costa Rica, shalom to Carlos. And who else is here? Fabio. Welcome. Don't recall from where. You have to remind me. And Natalie has joined us. And the North Shore of Massachusetts. All right. Liba and Davida, good morning in New York. Diane is with us in Arizona. Jane is in the Philippines. Deborah is in Kitchener, Ontario. Madeline in New York, good morning. Celeste Chava is in Colorado. Rena also is in Colorado. Marjorie in Virginia, welcome. Dam in Indonesia. Anna is in New York. Eileen in Las Vegas. Rivka in Hollywood. Yes, revealed blessings. We have on Clubhouse, Batya and Vilma, Adam, Celeste, Michael, David, Jay, Benji, Flock. And Ricky. Okay, beautiful. Instagrammers. We have Rachel in South Carolina. Sublime is with us. Chantel has joined us. Yenta Telebenta. Yocheved joined us in Florida. Beautiful. All right, folks. We conclude today the fourth essay, a very lengthy one, understanding deep thoughts, Kabbalistic ideas that are challenging at times. So there's a statement in the Eitz Chaim that speaks about intention, mindfulness, if you will. I don't know if mindfulness is the right word, but intention. That it is an expression of a neshama garment that we form. In other words, you have proper intent, proper focus, let's say now, in our studies. That you're being through this, you're attached to the divine, to God. So the intention itself creates a neshama garment. Now, as we've learned, there are three basic dimensions in the divine order of things, three gradations, shall we say, of each level. There's nefesh, ruach, and neshama, and we have them in our soul. Likewise, these three levels of the soul. Neshama being the divine part, the nefesh, ruach are more the created part, shall we say, if you will. So what's important over here is that our intention, in other words, where's our mind, where's our heart? You create with that, with the proper intent, a neshama garment, which is divine itself. Continues the Eitz Chaim and says, though, that through Torah study, which we're doing right now, the study itself, not the intent, the study itself, you create a ruach garment in the world of Yetzirah when you study the Mishnah, and when you study Gemara, you create the ruach level of garment in the world of Bria. Now, I'm going to take apart all the details here because we've done this in the past, but the world of Bria is the world of divine comprehension, and therefore when you comprehend Talmudic studies, then you create through that study, you form through that study a garment. A garment is what beautifies you and protects you. Something we've spoken about in the past, right? That you do that for your soul through your study. But what it's creating, though, is a ruach level, which is not divinity itself. A ruach garment. Right? The second level of the soul. It's not in reference to the soul here, but the soul reflects that which we're talking in the divine. And that's when you study Mishnah, so that'll be on the level in the world of Yetzirah, the world of formation. And when you study the Gemara, the reasoning behind it, the world of Bria, then you'll create a ruach garment there. But the ruach level is a created being as opposed to divinity itself. Divinity is not created. Divinity is divinity. Created, but there's created life and divine life. So through our Torah study, it's suggesting over here that we're created life, or forming rather, we're not creating, we're forming a garment that is created life, right? A created being. Well, how could that be through Torah study? Then it sounds like that's less than the intent, the love and awe that you have in the Torah study. How do we understand that? I hope that contradiction is clear. So, again, Torah study, the active Torah study, you're only creating the ruach garment, but the intent in the Torah study, you're creating the neshama garment, which is greater. How could that be? So Alter Rebbe explains. Here we're talking about, in the Eitz Chaim, in its teachings, that when we study Torah by a human being down here in this world, so therefore it becomes the ruach garment, because we're talking about a created person down here. So therefore the Torah study that you're engaged in is also creating a garment, a created thing. But when we're speaking about the Torah that's given on Mount Sinai, in other words, the level of Torah itself, well, it's divinity proper. That's neshama level. Well, what does that mean? It means to say And this is a concept that we've learned. The Torah itself is divine. And divine, what does that mean? Divine means it's divine. It doesn't need refinement. It is just good the way it is. But when the Torah comes down, so that's the way it is in its, so to speak, in its root source. So it was given at Sinai. But when it's given to us as a created being down here in a created environment, which is not divinity proper, it comes from divinity, of course, everything is, but it is now the study of Torah, of Talmud, refines the Ruach level in the world of Bria, and the study of Mishnah refines the Ruach level in the world of Yetzirah when you study Mishnah. So that's what the reference is. It's of speaking about, through our study, that what we're accomplishing in this world, bringing refinement to the reality of this world through the study. And therefore, it's forming a garment that's a Ruach level, because we're talking about a created world, that we're bringing refinement through our Torah study. That's the first explanation he gives. He says, even if you want to explain that what was given at Sinai is also the level of Ruach. Remember, there's 3 levels of soul: lowest Nefesh, then Ruach, and then Neshama. Neshama is divinity proper. Ruach and Nefesh are already created elements of the divine. So here, we're not talking about the soul here. I'm sorry, I said in the terms of the soul. It's not about the soul. It's about the divinity, the way it is from above, coming down and creating all of creation. So there's these 3 elements of the divine as it comes to create in each world, of course. So even if you want to say that the Torah that was given at Sinai, in its root source of Sinai, in other words, is also an expression of Ruach, right? And I just want to bring out an important point over here. What's the difference between divine and created? Divine means it's totally bound up in one with God, right? God and godliness. Godliness is bound up with God. Divinity is bound up with God. It doesn't have a separate identity. What does it mean, created? Created means you got a separate identity. You're a created being. You're a thing. You're something. A separate entity that has an independent identity. So now comes the other, it says, even if you want to say it's Sinai, that the Torah is this Ruach level, which would suggest created being, but therefore it's independent. It says, no, it's not. Because there's another way to look at this, not as an independent created entity, but rather as an emissary, who merely expresses the power of the principle. In other words, Torah is an expression of its principle, which is God, right? Which is God. Now, where do we see this idea? It's actually in today's Torah portion that we learned earlier, which I invite you to come and learn every day, that it speaks about an angel. Every angel is an emissary of God. And sometimes the angel is actually called in the name of God, Elohim, the name of God. Well, how could you call it God? Because it's godliness. It's godliness. Godliness means that God dwells within this created angel, right? And as a messenger, it is than just fulfilling what the principal sent the messenger to do. So it's just an extension. That's what an angel is on one level, as a messenger. But not always is an angel a messenger, and therefore not always is used the name of God. Sometimes they're called Leifanim, Srafim, they're called different names. Why? Because they're not messengers. Because that's when they have a particular name, when they are now proclaiming, for example, Kadosh, 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 holy, holy, holy is God. Meaning, what do you mean holy is God? Meaning God is separate from them. They're not acting as a messenger, they're just acting now as proclaiming God's holiness, because God's beyond them, because they are separate from God. Right? However, when they act as a messenger of God, then the name Elohim often will be used, as again in today's Torah portion, when in reference to the angel that Yaakov encountered, that Jacob encountered, and had a wrestling match with. So, when we make this reference to godliness, so when it comes to the study of the Talmud, therefore it's an investment of the Ruach state in the world of Bria. In the Mishnah, it's the Ruach state in the world of Yetzirah, Ruach being created beings. But yet they're messengers. Just like angels are messengers, so is God's Torah. It's a messenger of Him, a message of God, right? Messenger. And now we're a little Kabbalistic deep idea of the geography of where it comes from. What it means is it comes from the vessels of Nukva, of Malchus, of Atzilus. And if it's this is a vessel, a container. So the Talmud comes from the inner part of the vessel. Mishnah comes from the middle part of the vessel of Malchus, of sovereignty of Atzilus, right? Oh, sorry, the Talmud comes from the external, comes from the middle part, and meaning that it receives Malchus of Atzilus. Again, where this teachings as a messenger of God, the message of God in Torah, just like angels are messengers, so Torah is also a messenger, so to speak, right? So vested in that vessel of Malchus is vested in it is Yesod of Abba, which is Chochmah, the divine wisdom, and the divine wisdom comes from the level of Keser, the crown, as divine wisdom is found in the crown, and that in there is enclosed the infinite of God. When we say God, there's godliness, which are levels of godliness, and then there's God, which is the infinite beyond. So all of that is vested in this message of God, which is Torah, right? In different dimensions that I just mentioned, the Talmud and the Mishnah and so on. As a result, it comes down over here. Then when a person studies, as we are doing right now, studying, what are we drawing forth? Through all this integrated way downward, so to speak, drawing down the infinite of God into this world, so that it will be incorporated, everything of this world to be nullified to the divine light of God. That's what we're doing right now in our study. So again, just like the angel is the messenger and therefore can be called in God's name, so likewise Torah is the message of God, the messenger of God, and we just explained how that works Kabbalistically in the Kabbalistic geography. But in the end, what are we drawing down here when we study Torah? Is the infinite of God. That's what's brought down. And to the degree that what is it doing? Bringing the light of God into this world, to nullify everything to that light. And this is the entire purpose of man and woman. You know what I mean? Is what? To make the world become nullified to God's light. Meaning that it should be recognizing that what is the true reality is God's light. And we accomplish that through Torah study. Now, this spiritual service that we're talking about, that Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, who's the author of the Zohar, and all the Tanoim and the Amoraim, and all of the great sages of the Mishnah and the Gemara, and Talmud, they did it by studying the revealed aspects of the Torah, that they called forth the divine light to bring it into this world, to bring a purification to klipa, klipas noiga, to that which is in this world, an admixture of good and evil, and they brought a purification through the Torah study in this world. And we do that throughout the entire exile. Which is then the force of the tree, of the dominion of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, which is the force of klipas noiga, right? This shell that covers over on the divine light, that is composed of both good and evil, right? And this is what the time that we live in. It's called the time that evil man dominates over holy man. And this is our purpose, is to take the message of God, the messenger of God, just like an angel is, but Torah is even greater messenger than an angel, and to bring it down into this world that is dominated by negativity, by klipa, and to refine it. We do that, all of us right now, to bring this world into an elevated state that ultimately it'll be one in one. The oneness of God, the lower element of oneness, to the higher level of oneness, it'll be one with the divine. Now, that's what we're doing with our Torah study, in the act of the Torah study. In contrast that, though, with the spiritual service of angels, or even ourselves, but right, of the intellectual love and awe of God that calls forth into the world, that's not drawing down the light of God, but that's what we call a mode of departure. Something we spoke about in the past. In other words, intent of God creating this world is not that we should depart this world like angels, that they're like blown away and they say, holy, holy, holy. No, we say in the prayers, right, like them. But they just kind of are, wow, blown away. For us, it's not about that. We should not be in a state of departure. The whole intent is to draw down godliness into this world. Not like angels. Or not like us sometimes, that we feel, we just want to remove ourselves from this world. No. Bring godliness into this world. You want to attach to God? Not by removal. Not by departure. With this, then we can understand how angels are created through our Torah study, even when we don't have proper intent. When you have proper intent, you create not created angels. You create divinity itself. Right? But when Torah study is on such a level of ruach, which is not divinity at all, right, as we explained, still these words, without the proper intent, the name of God does dwell within it. Right? And that we learned that in the beginning of this very lengthy essay. So when you learn without the proper intent, meaning just like, you're not really aware of how awesome what we're doing, of being bound up to God through this, and therefore kind of just going through the motions, not with negative intent, but not with positive intent. Nonetheless, you create angels. And in that angel, the name of God dwells. In other words, There's something positive there. Even when it's not properly motivated. But it's not divinity itself. When? Because you're only creating angels, ruach level, as opposed to when you have the proper intent of Torah study, then you're not creating angels. You're creating divine light. That is new light that's introduced into this world that's never been here before. Which I'm sure we're doing that right now. And with that, we conclude the fourth essay. A lot there. I hope I brought that out clear to everybody. I want to thank everybody that participated in our charity matching campaign that we had over the last 36 hours that ended last night. If you didn't get a chance, you can still go to charity.com/CZK and help out. But so many of you did, and so many of you also paid it forward. Not only that you helped, but you got others to help. I want to thank you all. I truly appreciate the help, and this will help that we will be able to bring more teachings to you and to everybody else. Okay. This and next week we'll finish the cycle, and a new cycle will start. If anybody has any thoughts on what nuance they would like, or something different in the teachings, let me know. David, when Yaakov Jacob wrestled with the angels and won, did the changing of his name to Israel was because he brought down godliness into this world by overcoming the evil inclination, the angel of Esau. Yep. True. Okay, any other questions? I don't see. All right. All right, folks, amazing. All of you. All right. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege, a pleasure to share with you, Tanya. Have an amazing day. Rambam coming up. Thank you.